How to run a half marathon successfully is about obviously preparing to run below what pace you want to hold over the 13.1 mile distance. Obviously, if you're running a half marathon for the very first time, running between 15 miles a week to 30 miles a week will be sufficient. It's going to build a great deal of endurance, build up a great deal of endurance on your part. Running a half marathon, the half marathon is my favorite distance, so I absolutely love answering questions about it. How to run a half marathon, obviously, uh, a lot of athletes like to negative split. So what that basically means is you run the second half of the half marathon faster than you ran the first half. So obviously, it's very very difficult early on in a half marathon race because it's natural for athletes to want to go way too fast. They want to take off, and it's a common mistake that a lot of athletes make. They misjudge their pace. So it's very very important that you stay patient early on in the race and don't go out too fast. Obviously, if you've done your homework and training and you've spent adequate time, really working the anaerobic systems of your body and training you're at your anaerobic threshold, which is you're running 165 to 174 beats per minute. If you spent sufficient time training at that level, your body's lactate tolerance is going to be very, very strong. You're going to be able to clear lactic acid faster than it's building up. So, and that's really a key physiological adaptation that occurs through, week after week, month after month of training, leading into a half marathon. Obviously, there's a lot of things that go into half marathon success. It's very, very important that you practice hydration and ingesting enough calories in training, so you know that when you get to the half marathon, you know about what your body can handle in terms of fluid intake, as well as ingesting those calories. Usually, a gel takes, usually it's about 100 to 150 calories. So taking in a gel at like mile 6 and mile 10 of a half marathon is going to obviously help you, because that's like immediate calories straight into your bloodstream, and that when you're racing, your muscles are craving that, the calories and obviously fluid. So it's very very critical, in terms of how to run a half marathon effectively. It's very important that you are practicing taking in enough fluid during training, so you can at least get a feel of what how much you need to take in during the race itself. Um, how to run a half marathon, obviously, there's a big mental piece to it as well, because um, your competition is going to be throwing surges at you during the race. There's going to be different movements, reactions in the race, and you're going to have to be strong enough mentally to be able to either sustain that pace, or react to their moves, or to make your own move and to be able to sustain it and to keep going. So it's very very important that you obviously visualize yourself, week after week, day after day, running that half marathon time that you're going after. Obviously, if this is your first half marathon and you don't really know how to run it, obviously I'd highly recommend being very cautious the first, you know 5 to 6 miles of the race. Don't go out too fast, because everybody does that. And if you run smart, and really stay patient the early part of the race, you're really going to be able to speed up and to start passing people, and that does a lot of things to you psychologically. Obviously, it's very motivating to be able to know you're speeding up and passing people, rather than having to slow down and to feel the enormous pain that goes into muscle breakdown, and not being able to continue to race at the speeds that you're wanting to race at. Obviously, the athletes that make the half marathon, that run fast half marathon times, um, and the ones that make it look easy, it's because they've spent a lot of time training at such high anaerobic levels, at such high heart rates in training, that the race itself is the easy part. I've always, the coaches and athletes that I've worked with, have taught me that training itself should be the most difficult part of your preparation. The race itself should be the easy part. It's testing yourself in training, getting on the track. Like I said, spending time at very, very high heart rates and running at speeds that you do not intend to race at for the entire half marathon distance. But, like for example, for me, my PR for the half marathon is an hour and 7 minutes and 6 seconds. That comes out to 5 minutes and 7 seconds per mile for 13 miles. So how I got myself to be able to sustain 5:07 pace for 13 miles was spending a great deal of time doing track workouts at under 4 minute mile pace to around 4:40 mile pace. I would do my mile repeats, 6 by 1 mile at between 4:45 and 4:47 per rep. I'd do 6 repetitions. I would do 3 by 2 miles on the track, usually anywhere from 4:55 pace to 5:05 pace. So I'd usually run my 2 mile reps anywhere from 9:50 to 10 minutes, around that range. And so that's just an example. Regardless of what time you're running, whether you're trying to go for 8 minute mile pace for the half marathon, or 6 minute mile pace, or 10 minute mile pace, practice running at least a minute to 2 minutes faster than you're trying to race at for the half marathon distance. That's gonna create an enormous amount of strength and stamina that you need to race over the half marathon distance. Now, obviously, this all depends on where you're at. If you're a brand new athlete, just running easy miles each day and building up that base mileage is going to make you very successful in getting to the point where you get on the start line and you're able to start the race and finish it, and have the sense that, hey, I finished a half marathon. I'm a half marathoner now. But obviously, if you have a time goal in mind, write that goal down and obviously visualize, okay, this is the pace I want to hold for this amount of this distance. What do I need to do in training in order to make that pace feel easier? And the common trait among all athletes, regardless if you're a sub 110 half marathoner or a sub 3 hour half marathoner, you have to spend sufficient time training far below your goal half marathon pace. It's the only way you're going to make that race pace feel manageable. So it's very important you remind yourself of that as well. Now, I do have a few courses on RunDreamAchieve.com. One is for athletes trying to break the 2 hour half marathon barrier. If that's you, I'll leave information at the bottom of this video in the description. Feel free to take a look at that or visit RunDreamAchieve.com. I do have a membership, a private community where I coach athletes online as well. So if it's something that you want to have, personal interaction with me on a one-on-one basis each week and each month, feel free to check out the RunDreamAchieve University. That's something I'm working very heavily on to make sure that I'm answering athletes that I'm coaching online their questions and getting you to use leverage. I want athletes to use leverage, working smarter, creating better performances by working smarter rather than having to continue to work harder and harder and not meet your race goals. So those are just some recommendations for you. I think it's very important that we as athletes find mentors, invest our time and money in personal development. It's very, very important to be if you want to make that next step in your athletic performance and your athletic mindset, that you invest your time and energy and resources into networking with coaches and athletes that know more and obviously have done what you want to do. That's very, very important. So how to run a half marathon really comes down to proper planning, working your plan and planning your work, finding out what strategies the best athletes are using and mimicking their work ethic. That's really the key. And being patient. Results don't come overnight. The half marathon is 13.1 miles, 21.1 kilometers. So it's very important that you're putting in sufficient mileage, but not just junk miles. Think quality over quantity, working smarter rather than harder. High mileage isn't the answer all the time, and most often the case, it's not the answer. So it's the quality. It's what are you putting into those miles that you're putting in each week? What is the percentage of your weekly volume are you training at your goal half marathon pace or exceeding your goal half marathon race pace? It's critical that you do that so that you teach the body to spend that time with high levels of lactic acid in your body, and knowing that, okay, I'm training at this speed, I'm not going to be able to hold it for very long, but I'm training way faster than I'm planning on racing at. So overall, over a long period of time, my race pace is going to feel so much more easier. I mean, think about it. If your goal race pace is 9-minute mile pace for 13.1 miles, and that's what you want to race at, and you're training at 7-minute mile pace or 7:30 mile pace on the track, or you're out doing repeat or fartlek workouts, maybe like 20 times 1 minute hard, 1 minute easy, and you're like pushing like 170 beats a minute for that hard section, and then you're jogging at maybe like 150 beats per minute during your easy section. All those build up workouts are going to make race pace feel that much easier. And that's really the key in terms of how to run a half marathon effectively and efficiently, is training at high levels, training at higher heart rates for longer periods of time, and obviously being patient, doing the other things off the track and off the roads that count the most, like eating the right foods, getting enough rest, drinking plenty of fluids to making sure you're rehydrating. All those things, spending time visualizing yourself succeeding, running the type of times that you're dreaming about, seeing yourself coming across the finish line in that particular race time that you're looking for, making the moves in training, being able to throw in a surge and break your competition, and then looking back and seeing them falling further and further behind. It's not a cocky thing, but you want to have that confidence in the race, and you want to have the confidence, obviously, to be able to make those moves because you've done your homework in training first. So be cognizant of that. Make sure, like I said, training should be the most difficult part of the preparation. Still have fun with it. Definitely still have fun. Don't lose enthusiasm when the workouts may not go as fast as you want them to go early on. This is where that patience part comes in. It takes 21 days for your body to adapt to any stress you're throwing at it. So the workouts you're doing today, the benefits of the workouts you're doing today will show up, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks down the line. So it's really important, in terms of your half marathon preparation, that you remind yourself of that. Okay, today it's really painful. I'm not hitting the splits I'm wanting to hit, but I'm telling you, 8 weeks down the road, 12 weeks down the road, you're going to be hitting those splits because your heart, obviously your heart doesn't have to work as hard. Your heart's going to be at the same intensity, same heart rate, but your pace is going to be so much faster because you've built, like I said, those physiological adaptations have occurred because you've continually put in the miles, you've continually done the track sessions, the road work, you've done the hill repetitions, you've went out and you're doing your harder long runs like I teach at 160 beats a minute. On top of those easier long runs as well. You've pushed hard in training, but you've also backed off and you've jogged on your recovery days. So it's also another really important thing to keep in mind is your hard days are hard. Make sure they challenge you and you're really pushing yourself. But those recovery days, do not run too fast on your recovery days. Make sure you're relaxing and taking it easy so you can get those benefits that you're looking for, so you can run a successful half marathon. So how to run a half marathon, I hope I've covered a few of the strategies that you really want to focus in on. With that being said, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, feel free to click the subscribe button, as well as click the bell icon. That way when I make a new video, you'll be given notification of that new video. And if you have a specific question in regards to half marathons, something that's been giving you issues, or you're planning on running your first half marathon, or you're trying to go after a specific half marathon time, and there's something in this video that I haven't covered, leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Appreciate it, and I'll talk to you next time.